Hi, welcome back to ODE YouTube channel. My name is Paulo and I'm here again for another video of the pens for the month, and this time obviously is about the pens I have with ink for the month of December. So please, as usual with this kind of videos, please be aware that this video may get a little bit long, so maybe if you don't like long videos, maybe this video is not for you. I'm going to show you the pens that I have with ink, and that's it. I will put on the description below the timestamps for each pen if you want to skip some of my talking and just go to the pen you want to see. And also in the front of the name of the pen that is on that timestamp, I will put the link for the review if I already did it on my channel, and also for somewhere online where you can buy that pen if that somewhere exists. So last month I showed you 23 pens that had ink inside, and this month, December, I have 22 pens. So one less than last month. I'm behaving quite well. And so let's start the pens for the last month of this crazy year of 2020. The first pen I'm going to show you is a pen that I showed you lots of times before, which is the Kaweco Liliput copper. This is a pen made of copper in Germany, and it is now with lots of patina and oxidation, so there is no longer that copper color. And let's see the pen writing. So the first is the Kaweco Liliput copper with a fine steel nib, and it has inside some ink mix as usual. This is a pen I really like to have with me when I go anywhere, and it has been mostly unused during this year because I'm not going anywhere, and so when I go out I take the pen. If I take my my backpack, it's inside, but not that much use as in the previous years. So this is a pen that writes really well, a very small pocket pen that becomes a full-size pen with a very good nib, and most of all a very good seal. You can leave it unused for months and it will stay wet on the nib, it will not dry, so this is really a good thing. Now the next pen I'm showing you is also from Germany and also from Kaweco. I think this month I have mostly pens from Germany and from Italy, I think. So that's that. This is another pen that I like a lot, and this is the Kaweco Supra, made of steel, which is also a pocket pen, very similar in length to the Kaweco Liliput, but it is girthier, and you have an extra metal section that you can put here and make it a full-sized pen, or you can post the cap and it is a full-sized pen as it is. And I actually I don't like that much to post my pens, but in this pen I prefer to use it like this instead with that extender for the barrel, and it has a beautiful number 6 nib and I like it a lot. This one was the nib that came bent when Kaweco sent them to me. Then they sent me a new nib, but I straightened this nib as an exercise, and it worked, and that's the nib that I'm using in this pen. So this is the Kaweco Supra steel with also an F nib, and the ink it has is the Pelikan Edelstein Aquamarine, and I like this nib a lot. I think the pen may start skipping at any point, but it's because it's getting low on ink, and this is a very beautiful nib, and it's not a flex nib, but you can have some line variation and some softness because it is a big nib, and I think it's mostly because of that. And just for comparison purposes, you can see here the Supra and the Liliput. The Supra without the extension is of the same length of the Liliput. Now we go to a pen, still Germany, another Kaweco Sport, and this is a pen that I received last month, and this is the Kaweco AL Sport Silver, which is quite a basic color, but I never had this one before, so I'm showing it to you. The regular number 5 steel nib from Kaweco. So Kaweco AL Sport Fine. This nib is much stiffer than the previous one, and I'm not complaining, just saying. AL Sport Silver, and the ink it has inside is the Pelikan, sorry, not Pelikan, it is the Kaweco Palm Green. And about the line variation with this pen, almost none, and you can see that there are some consistency issues because the nib on the Liliput, which is the same nib as this one, also an F nib, is a little wider than this one, but this happens with some nib brands. However, both pens write really well, just the Fs are not the same. And we jump to another German pen. So far 3 German pens, another one, and this lighting today is not very good. I'm always making some shadows with my hands. Sorry, let me just adjust this a little bit here. Maybe it will be better like that. So this is one of the best Kaweco Sport ever, in my opinion. This is the Kaweco Sport Luxe, which is a pen that's not made of ABS plastic. It is made of a resin, a black resin, and it is very beautiful. It has a fixed clip. This one is not optional like the other ones that you can put in, and this is very nice pen. It has a golden ring there and a section, and it takes cartridges as all the others, or the short international converters, and it has a brass weight on the bottom of the barrel that makes it back heavy. And if I do it like this, you'll see, if I make no pressure, the bottom goes down, but that's quite useful because when you put the pen like this, the weight is at this part of the cap, and this will rest on your hand, and the balance is just perfect. And so this is the Kaweco Sport Luxe. It is discontinued now. It has a fine gold nib, and the ink is the Parker Quink Black. Beautiful nib. This nib is smooth. It is made of gold, but I cannot say it's really different than the others. Although I know this is a fine nib that is different from all the previous fine nibs that I showed you. About this fine nib, I have something to say. This is not the modern fine gold nib Kaweco has. This is an older one that came with a Kaweco Art Sport from the first generation, and I just unscrewed the nib unit and tried to put into this pen, and they are not compatible, the first ones. So what I had to do, I had to remove the feed, but the feed was not the same, so they would not fit into the nib and feed unit for this pen. And what I did was I had to sand down the feed, to modify the feed. I had a spare one, so I did it. I had to sand the feed to allow the nib to fit into this pen, but it now fits and it is great. And the other option is to buy a new Kaweco gold nib unit, but I don't think I want to spend that money in a gold nib because I already have, and to spend that money in some special editions that Kaweco keeps releasing. I think it's money better spent that way. The next pen, I told you we would be traveling a lot between Germany and Italy, so the next pen is from Italy, and it is a Leonardo pen. And Leonardo pen, today the lighting is not okay. I don't know what I can do. This is a wonderful pen. This is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Grande, and this is the sand, and the sand finish is an amazing material, and it is a piston filler with ebonite feed. Beautiful nib. I love this pen. So this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Grande with the sand color, with a fine steel nib, and the ink is diamine Macassar, a very beautiful, very dark brown ink. This nib is soft, not flexy, but it's springy, and I like it a lot. Quite wet for a fine nib, and I think this is one amazing pen. This is wonderful. I don't know what I did to my lighting setup because I'm not liking what I'm seeing through the camera. Maybe it will be better when I look at it in the screen, but I'm not showing all that this material has to offer. It is much more interesting. The next pen I'm going to show you comes also from Italy, from the same brand, and this is the previous model, the previous version of Momento Grande. This one has gold stream but steel nib, and it is a beautiful and very nice pen. So this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Grande, and this is the dark Hawaii. It has a fine nib, and the ink inside, it is the diamine denim, and this is softer and wet, and you can see it is a little broader than the on the sand. Why is that? I don't know, just regular variation from nib to nib, even when they are from the same manufacturer, which I think they are. And the next pen I have to show you is another pen from Italy. This is a beautiful one too. I'll move the light again. I'm not happy with this. This is a beautiful, beautiful pen. I love this. And this is the same kind of nib, actually, but the model is not the Momento Zero, is the Furore. The difference is the shape of the pen, and this is the Furore Grande, which means it's also a piston filler. So this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana. I was going to write Momento Zero, but it's not Momento Zero, it is the Furore Grande, and the color is blue Positano, and this is beautiful material. There is no chatoyance, and people today always look for a lot of depth on material, but these swirls are beautiful. I just think of the water on the base of a cliff going against the rocks, and that's what this reminds me. I love this. So this is a fine nib also. This is very, very smooth. This is smoother than the other two Leonardo nibs, and this one has inside Leonardo blue and soft, springy and wet, so very good nib. All these nibs from Leonardo. The next pen, now just to change a little bit, the next 4 pens are not from Germany and not from Italy. The next one is from Japan. It is a Pilot Elite made of silver with this ciselé pattern, which is quite nice. Sterling silver there, and it is a Pilot, believe me, Elite. It is a big pen with a very big nib, and I love this big nib. And this is that one that I had to create a specific kind of cartridge to replace the old filling system that's not working anymore. And so this is the Pilot Elite Sterling Silver. The nib is a manifold, which means it is supposed to be a rigid nib. It's written there beneath the breather hole, manifold. This means it's meant to write through carbon copy paper, and the ink is Pilot Hiroshizuku, and the name, let me look at my notes, Tsukushi. And although this is supposed to be a very rigid nib, you can have lots of line variation, but you need to press hard, and these nibs were made to be pressed hard, so I'm not that afraid, and you can do amazing stuff with this nib if you have some talent for calligraphy. Not my case. And from Japan we move into the United States, and with this little pen. This is a pocket pen, the same size of the Kaweco Liliput, the Kaweco Supra, a little shorter. And this pen is a Schon design pen. It has a Yovo fine nib made of steel, big one, number 6, which is nice for a pocket pen. So it has the same kind of nib as the Kaweco, but this one has no brand engraving. So this is the Schon design pocket, because it is a pocket pen, 6 because it has a number 6 nib, and copper because obviously this pen is made of copper and is full of patina. I have 3 copper pens inked right now, and it has a fine steel nib. I forgot to mention this nib was, the nib on the palette was a gold nib, and the ink is the Sailor, gentle, and I had to look at my notes, Okuyama. It is a kind of a brownish burgundy color. When you smear it, you can see it is burgundy, but I think this is a nice color because it looks more on the black side than on the burgundy side. It's quite dark. I think that this pen is very nice. When it is closed, it has a very nice symmetry. The threads are very pleasant to make them work, and it posts perfectly to get a full-sized pen. So, an interesting one. I like big pens, but I also like small pocket pens that, as their definition, become then a full-size pen. And the next pen is not a pocket pen, it's just the opposite. And I did not make this by purpose. I just, on purpose, sorry. I have the pens just by brand, but they are, it's random how they appear in the video. But the next pen is this one. It's not a small pen at all, it's a very big one, with a number 8 nib made of titanium. You can see there the T and the I and then the F for a fine nib. This is a wonderful piston filler gigantic pen. So this is the William Shakour Titan, and the color is yellow. This is a 3D printed pen with a fine nib, and the ink inside is the Pelican Edelstein Smoky Quartz. About the line variation on this one, you see, it's crazy. You can have a lot because it has a titanium nib. You just need to be careful not to overflex it. Now, the next pen is this. That one was from the UK. Now let's go back to the US, and this is a Parker 51. This pen was from my grandfather, and I think it is from the US and not the UK, but let me check. I don't think you can read it there, at least. Okay, I will check it later. So this is a Parker 51. This is the costume black, and the costume is when you have the gold cap with these stripes, with those lines. I would say it has a fine nib with Leonardo purple, and this is quite a good pen, but it is a Parker 51. You will not have lots of line variation. You cannot press it because it is a very hard nib. It is wet enough. It is a good pen that posts really well, a very classic design that you cannot forget as a very important piece of the history of fountain pens. And from Parker we go can to Italy. And this is a pen that is, it has been in these videos since I started doing them, and I have this pen inked since I got it because I really love it. I think it's a great pen. It meets vintage with modern. It has these metallic parts, the rings with arches. It is the Nettuno 1911. It is a very beautiful dark pen, black, that has an amazing nib. So this is the Nettuno 1911 black sands. This pen is very, very wet. I think you can see that. It has a fine nib and it has a Waterman violet inside. You can have line variation, not a flex nib, but you can force a little line variation, and it is very, very wet for a fine nib, but we have to be fair. It is also quite large, it's quite a broad fine nib. I would say this is more like a medium, because if this is a fine, this is definitely bigger, or wider. It is a beautiful pen, good size, number 6 nib, made of steel, but very well made in terms of performance. And we jump a little bit into China, and we have a replica of a Parker Centennial Fold, and this is the Jinhao Centennial. There are places where it's called Jinhao 100. It has a Fude nib, which is a nib bent like this, which allows you for line variation, and it has some ink mix inside. And about line variation, you can have a lot, and you can, if you hold the pen in different angles, I'm not sure if my hand maybe is blocking the camera, you can have these, or you can have these, or you can have these. Not that wet, but allows you for some line variation. It's good to make very large notes if you want to be sure you will not forget something, and that's nice for that. From China we go to Russia for this amazing finish. And yes, this is a Benu pen, and the Benu is the only pen that I know that has this kind of sparkling inserts with a big number 6 Schmidt steel nib, and you can see it's a very interesting. I like this pen a lot. This is the Benu. I was calling it Supreme, but Supreme is another line. It's Euphoria, and the name is Caviar with a medium steel nib, and the ink is the Diamine Inkvent Calendar Solstice, my favorite color of that calendar. The nib is quite rigid, but it is very nice, very wet, very well tuned, beautiful pen, beautiful finish. Very big size. You can see it is next to a Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. You can see it mostly of the same size. This is the William Shakour, which is a very big pen, and this is not a small one, so looks nice. The next pen, and there are not that many to go now, is from Japan. A pen that is one of the most this is one of the few top of the line pens that I have, flagship models. This is the flagship model for Sailor. This is a special edition, and you can see it is translucent green, very beautiful green. By the way, the Benu Euphoria has this solstice ink that has shimmer, and I was seeing shimmer when I was looking at the paper, but now I cannot see it. Okay, I think you can now. You see, this ink is amazing, and that pen goes very well with it and performs well. So this is the Sailor King of pen, also with a number 8 nib, a very big one, but this one is made of 21K gold, and it is a medium nib, and the ink it has inside is an ink that I like a lot. However, it is continued. When it's over, which is the Mont Blanc Daniel Defoe. Yes, it allows for line variation. It has a nice feedback. It has a very good performance, a wet pen, beautiful, big, very nice. This is a pen of the same kind of look and size as a Mont Blanc 149. And the next one, we go back, you guessed it, to Italy, and this is an amazing pen because it is black, and it is completely black. You cannot, it's hard to see the clip and the details. This is a black pen. This is the Perfecta, which was kind of a vintage, kind of a safety pen model. This is not a safety pen, but it has the same look, and I think this is amazing. I like a lot when a pen brand honors their history and makes a pen that is inspired on the same design. It is a Tibaldi with an eagle on the nib from the Aquila family, which owns Montegrappa. So this is the Tibaldi Perfecta, rich black, and this black is really a rich black with a fine nib. This pen also has a ebonite feed, and I think ebonite feeds make all the difference. It's a number 6 nib, and the ink it has is the same. It doesn't look like, you can see how different nibs make an ink look so different. It has the same Mont Blanc Daniel Defoe. I like this nib a lot. You can have lots of line variation, but it has a kind of feedback that I love. I love the way it writes. I love how fine this fine nib really is, and how wet it is. If you look there, it's still shining with the ink there, and you can see that this ink doesn't look like the same as above, but when you look at the smear, you can see it is the same. So I really like this ink, and I like this pen, and sometimes you find ink and pen combination that you don't want to take apart. The next pen, also from Italy, also a Tibaldi, is this one. This is the Tibaldi number 60, which is a pen that is inspired also in a vintage model, and it is kind of a vintage looking, the same nib, although this is a medium, but the pen is bigger, and I think it's bigger even than a vintage model that used to be smaller. So this is the Tibaldi number 60 Samarkand blue. I made a versus video comparing this pen with the Perfecta, if you want to check. With a medium nib, I prefer the fine nib much more. It's nicer, has more feedback. This is smoother, but I prefer the feedback. With Mont Blanc Twilight Blue. I like this pen, but you can see the fine nib is wetter and has more feedback, and I like the kind of feedback it has. But I think the resin that this one has is quite... I wanted to focus, but I'm having a hard time. It is very shiny, and it has a kind of material that is very nice looking. And even this combination of colors with the blue, black and yellow is a combination that actually existed in that previous model, vintage model of the brand, in which this one is inspired. Then, 5 pens to go. We were in Italy and we go to Germany, and this pen is a Reform. It has an interesting name. It is a Reform Skywalker. Reform there, steel nib, also Tibaldi were steel nib, very nice one. Plastic feed, plastic pen, Demonstrator, and good pen. This is the Reform Skywalker, and it has a medium nib, yes, and the ink it has is the Kaweco Royal Blue. This nib is smooth, doesn't have any special property, but it works well. It's a very good pen. I really enjoy it, and it's kind of sad that these kind of brands disappeared, because sometimes they offered very nice models at quite low prices. Now let's go for outside of Germany and Italy, and we have another Italian pen, and this is, it is misaligned, I know, I can do it, but I will not. This is an ENSSO. Where is that? There. There. This is the ENSSO XS Minimalist copper. This was a limited edition with a fine Bock nib, branded Bock, black one, with Graf von Faber-Castell moss green. This nib, what I can say about it is that it has that kind of strange feeling that sometimes the black nibs have. It is a copper pen, and that is something that I like. It's very simple, it's very well done, very sturdy, but the feel that you get on paper from these kind of nibs is quite strange. It's not the same that you have on the non-coated nibs. One amazing thing is the sound that you get when you unpost the pen. Like this. Nice one. Okay, it is not aligned, but you just do that and it is okay, and it is very... I think the design is very well made. Now, last 3 pens. And yes, Italy again. And this is the Omas. And Omas pens are nice. You can see this nib. I don't know if it is gold or not. I'm not sure. I bought this in second hand. But it has that arrow nib that maybe was copied from Parker, maybe. And this is the Omas Milord black with a fine nib. I don't know if it's steel or gold. And the ink is an amazing one, Diamine Pumpkin. I got a sample from a friend, and I love these orange. It's great. this pen is quite wet, it writes well, you cannot get lots of line variation, so maybe it's not gold, or maybe it is. For example, older Parker Dufolds had gold nibs and they are not flexed at all, they are very stiff nibs, so I don't know. And you can have nice smear, and because my finger is dirty with all the inks, the green and the orange made a little beautiful autumn color there. Now, by the way, let me just show you this band with a Greek key engraving. I like it, and I also like the font that Omas used. It's interesting to have pens from brands that no longer exist. It's the case of these Omas and the case of the Reform. And I think I don't have any more pens here that are no longer are from brands that are extinct now. And now from Italy we jump again to Germany. I know I'm getting kind of monotonous here. This is a Faber-Castell very slim pen, and that is why this pen is called Faber-Castell Neo Slim. This pen is nice, but it is terribly dry, very dry. I don't know if it is because of the way the nib is curved down. It doesn't put a lot of ink on paper, so it sometimes skips, maybe not skipping, it's hard to say, it's like that not enough ink gets into the paper. And it has Visconti brown. I like big girthy pens, but sometimes I like also pocket pens or slim long pens, and I like this one, so I bought it. It is skipping too much, maybe. Let me check. No, it still has ink inside. I think sometimes it dries a little bit on the cap. I've not been using this pen a lot, so maybe this happened because of that. I don't know. You can't have lots of line variation. Okay. Maybe I just need to... I knew that this pen could be dry. When I inked this pen for the first time, it performed much better. Now it's not that much. It has been sitting there unused for a while, so maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's time just to flush it and ink it again, and maybe it will go a little better. I'll have to check it. I don't want to be unfair to the performance of the pen, but sometimes this happens. Sometimes pens get dried. Sometimes pens are more dry than others and they don't perform just as well. But I had it as a very dry pen, but not as a skipping pen. So the way it's performed today, it is a little strange. I think I will flush it and have it again to work, but that's how it is. I will not hide that way of working. And the final pen that I have to show you today is a pen from China. Yes, this is a copy of a Moonman pen, but it is clearly stated it's not a Moonman. It is a Moonman, and they say it several times. So this is not a forgery, but it is a copy. Much less expensive, although it's more on the expensive side of Chinese pens. It is made of wood, cartridge converter pen, and it has these rivets there on the barrel and on the cap, and metal section, not for everyone, I don't mind it. And we have a Bock nib, number 6 Bock nib. That's why it makes a little bit more expensive, but this Bock nib is really good. So this is the Moonman 1000 with a fine steel nib, and this nib is amazing. The writing performance you get out of this pen is amazing, and so I think you should get a pen that works for you. If it is a copy, it is a copy. If it's not, it's not. It's up to you. I think this pen is amazing, and I don't think this will compete with the Mont Blanc. And the ink it has is the Noodler's Brexit. And I think that this ink goes perfectly with this pen, and the performance is great. I'm really loving it. You can see not the same problems I had with the Faber-Castell, which is kind of strange because all my Faber-Castell pens are really good. This one, very thin for a fine line, and okay. I'm not talking about that one now, I'm talking about this one. I have to write more with the Faber-Castell and know more about it to be able to make a proper review and to give a proper opinion, maybe try it with different inks. And this nib allows from some line variation, box steel nib, very good quality, quite wet. I think this pen is really, really, really good. So, this is what I have with ink for the month of December. 22 pens. I'm trying to reduce the number of pens month by month. Sometimes it's hard. Last month I received some new pens, so not of them were inked, because when I have many pens inked, I tend to use the ones that I'm liking more, and then there are some others, just because they don't get enough opportunities, they get dried like this one, or they get unused like this one, but they don't dry because it is foolproof. So I'm trying to have a lower number of inked pens at each time to be able to use them all. But sometimes I have to ink some pens for specific issues. I have these Momento Zero Grande, the sand that I received, and I like it a lot, and I prefer to use it just because of the finish, just because of the color, than the Leonardo Dark Hawaii. But because they had different filling systems, I wanted to make a versus video, so I went and inked this pen up again. So sometimes, because I have a channel, I can use the pens I want, and I love to use them, love the variety, and this is amazing because I can do it and I can show it to you, and I have opportunities to try pens that I would not have otherwise. However, sometimes this also limits me because maybe I would like to use other pens or to change some things, but if I receive a pen for review, I need to ink it and use it to be able to make a proper and fair review. So that's it. Sometimes I cannot decide myself which pens I want to have inked. I have to ink the pens as they are useful for the channel and for the brands and for the viewers. So all these pens are inked. I suppose in December I will not receive as many pens. I know I have some Kawecos to receive. I have another Italian pen two Italian pens to reach me. So there will be some pens, but I don't think as much, and then I think January will have much less pens. But I still have these ones and many others in my collection that I need to review, so they will get into rotation. I thank you so much for watching this video. I love to do these long videos. I hope you like to watch them also. And if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe the channel, and I will be back soon for another, hopefully not so long video. So, until then, bye.